Welcome to The Fight on Matrix Midwest with Randy Karraker and company.
Hi kids, happy Tuesday. Welcome to The Fight. Great to have you with us. That's Andrew, I'm Randy. So we're at the building. Our sister station is KMOV, First Alert 4. And upstairs, they've got a First Alert weather day. Right here, we've got a Second Alert weather day. We know that it's raining, but we're glad that you're with us to talk sports. You know what? You aren't going to change the weather. That's it. So you might as well just know about what's going on in the world of sports. For example, Andrew gave me some NFL news last night, maybe about a Mizzou player. Could be fun. We might not have baseball for a while in 2027, at least according to the MLB Players Association. And we've got our Tuesday visit with Katie Wu. Looking forward to that with our Cardinal beat reporter from The Athletic. We've got that for you and more. But first, the Cardinals open the season 3 weeks from Thursday, and they're tracking towards selling their home opener out. But there are tickets available. I've been told they're budgeting at the Cardinal ticket offices for fewer ticket sales, obviously, this year than they had last season. And our question of you, and Andrew put this on social media last night, is there anything they could do to get you back in the ballpark this year? You can text in 314-624-0414 or email us at thefight@matrixmidwest.com. Andrew, I'm a fan. I've been going since I was a little kid. Even when things were not good a couple of years ago, I was a fan. I get frustrated at times, but my favorite thing about sports and baseball is watching young players get better, and that's where the Cardinals are in 2025. That'll be what brings me back this year.
Yeah, for me, I think it's a combination of a few things. The first one is it's pretty expensive to take your family to the ballpark. So the overall expense, I think, is what's pushing a lot of people away. And also, too, sometimes downtown isn't the safest area, and so families get worried about heading that direction. So I'm with you. I'm there for the baseball. It's really easy to bring a guy like me in because I'm a sports junkie. It's really hard to bring in the average fan.
And I do think that there is a huge misconception about the price of going to a game, because a huge percentage of the Cardinal tickets are $10 or less. If you're on their email list, almost every series, you can get tickets for $10 or less. The Cardinals allow soft-sided coolers in. You can bring in bottled water, you can bring in soda. You can't bring in beer, but all you need to do is put closed bottles in there. You go in and pick up some sub sandwiches, or you make sandwiches at home. You bring your drinks, you bring your chips in that soft-sided cooler. As long as it fits underneath your seat, you're fine. So essentially, you can go for, let's say $10 a pop for a family of four. Okay, that's your tickets. You spend $20, $25, $30 on parking, and then you eat what you were going to eat at home anyway. So you might have a $50 or $60 expense to bring a family of four to a game. That's not too bad. But the safety issue that you bring up, I think, is a big one. And the Cardinals, along with the Blues and St. Louis City SC, have done big things to try to help out with some invisible security measures. But the problem is, if you come out after a Sunday game and your car has been broken into, and you call 911 in the city and it takes 2 or 3 hours for a police officer to get there, that's troubling. And that will cause people to not come back.
I love that you brought up the soft-sided cooler, because that just brings me back to when I was a kid. My parents were never the ones that took us to the concession stand. We were always the ones that brought in Jimmy John's sub sandwiches. And frankly, that was better. Like, that was better than the Gas House Grill. And it's not a knock on Busch Stadium. It's just, for me, that was more exciting to be able to go to a restaurant first and then go to the Cardinal game. It felt like a great night.
Now, you got a response from Lance on Facebook, who has an idea to bring people back.
He does, and it started with sharp price cuts in concessions. And he's not wrong. A hot dog at a game is $8, $9. You pair that with a soda, you pair that with an adult beverage, whatever that may look like, and all of a sudden you just drop $25, $30, and that's just kind of what happens. But you know what? You have a job, you pay for these things. If you're going to the game, you're probably expecting to drop 1 or 2 big chunks of change on beer. That's just how it goes when you go to a sporting event.
No, but when you talk about a sharp drop, the team in pro sports that has the lowest prices on concessions is the Atlanta Falcons. They have $2 hot dogs, they have $1.50 beers, they have $1 peanuts. And what team makes the most in all of sports on their concessions? It's the Atlanta Falcons. They sell at an incredible volume. They aren't making the profit margin that other franchises are making, but they sell at an incredible volume. Now, the Cardinals have a contract with Delaware North. That's a concessionaire. I think they work in tandem to have these prices, and it costs more to employ people for these jobs now. But I do think that that's one thing the Cardinals could do. Even if it's not a sharp drop, I think the Cardinals would do well to reduce concession prices. All right, you also got a text or a Facebook post from Paul who said win. There's an old adage in sports, winning solves everything, and it really does.
It does, and if this team wins, they will be a competitive team, and you won't see that 10% fan attendance drop-off that you saw last season.
Yeah. Ryan on the text line says, play consistently, but you asked for something they can do.
He's got jokes.
Yeah.
He's got jokes.
And how about Daniel? Now, you're a young guy. What about Daniel's idea?
Dollar beer nights, and this is where I think you can get unique. And I love that you brought up the areas of profit margin. One, you could just get a lot of volume, or the other. And look, the Cardinals still have lines out the wazoo when you go to Cardinal games. It's not like people aren't buying concessions. But if you had dollar beers, do you know how many people would just flood to the seats so that they could drink beer all night long as the game's going on? That's a great idea. They do it in minor league baseball, and it always works.
Now, I have this perception out there. I don't know if this is an accurate perception. I think there is Mo fatigue. I think when John Mozeliak is gone after this year and Chaim Bloom or anybody else takes over, but it's going to be Chaim Bloom, I think that people don't buy tickets because they dislike John Mozeliak. Now, is that a rational thing? No, but I think it's out there. Text in 314-624-0414. We'd like to hear from you if Mo's departure in 2026 will have an effect on your ticket buying habits.
I think it could, and it's just a combination of everything. Okay. You take all of this stuff into account, and that is why attendance is down.
Okay, I don't understand this one from Ashley. Tell us about this one.
Well, this one's my wife. She told me free funnel cakes. That's all she wants. She's a big sweet tooth, and she goes, I'll go to the game if there's free funnel cakes. But you know what? She's not the biggest baseball fan, so maybe the Cardinals could take notes from, if you're trying to attract new fans to the game. She's a White Sox fan. But if you're trying to attract new fans to the Cardinal games, then maybe you should go with Ashley's idea of free funnel cake.
Not a bad idea. Yesterday, we talked about Albert Pujols wanting to be a major league manager. Back in the day, back in the 90s, St. Louis U had a coach named Charlie Spoonhour, and he actually registered the name Spoonball. And people would say, hey, I'm going to go watch Spoonball. People went to spend money on tickets to see St. Louis U, and they were good, but they went because the coach was Charlie Spoonhour. I wonder if an Albert Pujols managed team that had Yadier Molina on staff, Chris Carpenter on staff, I wonder if that would sell tickets. I have to believe, at least at the outset, people would be so enthusiastic that they would love the idea of number 5 being back in a Cardinal uniform.
That's just nostalgic to see. Number 5 leading this team. He's doing a great job right now with the Dominican teams. He won already a championship with a group. This is the type of guy you need in a Cardinals uniform. And again, it's not like we're just sitting here saying, Ollie go, Ollie go. This is just in terms of it will bring fans to the ballpark today.
Marketing point.
If Pujols is the manager. And then Randy said it. You bring Yadi back as a bench coach, or you bring Carpenter in as a pitching coach, all that does is just put fans in a position to say, okay, not only are they saying, hey, we're going to win again with the guys that used to win, but they're also buying back into the Cardinal alumni program that has been slowly getting torn apart.
All right, one other thing. The Cardinals are not even showing Saturday games on TV. They aren't showing every game, spring training game on TV. It's a 2.5-hour commercial for your product every day. How the Cardinals don't go to FanDuel and say, look, we'll finance this. We'll pay for every game in spring training to be on TV. We need to get this done. Brad Thompson would do it. He's got no problem. Alexa Datt's doing a great job on play-by-play. You've got Chip. You've got a great staff. I know there's expense involved with putting a game on television, but if you're the Cardinals and you can put tickets available on TV every single day in the afternoon during the spring, I think that they should do it.
And this really drives me crazy, because spring training doesn't even need broadcasters. You can just put Nat Sound out there and let the sounds of baseball, the sounds of the fans, the crack of the bat, tell the story of the game. Just do an eagle-eye view. You don't even need somebody pushing a button. Just make it like a high school baseball broadcast and shoot it out towards center field.
I disagree with that. I do think you need somebody saying, tickets for opening day are available, go to cardinals.com. I think you need to have that level of communication so that you can tell people, it's a commercial, so that you can tell people that hey, we have this product and we want you to purchase it. All right, let's turn to hockey. The Blues are off until tomorrow when they visit LA, but the trade deadline is on Friday, and Greg Wyshynski at ESPN.com and his group got together to make some trade proposals. And one of those, we love to do this, the Maple Leafs would get Braden Shen and the Blues would get a 2026 first-round pick, and the 2026 draft is loaded, and center Fraser Minton, a young center. Would that be a return worth breaking up the current state of the Blues? You know what? I think if you trade Braden Shen, I think that you're going into Blackhawks or Sharks type rebuild mode. You basically, you've got still Colton Parayko and Binnington, but your team is devoid of leadership. I think that would be a big gamble. You better get a real haul back if you're going to move Braden Shen.
I have two questions that come along with this. The first one is, how many Stanley Cups do you win with Braden Shen on your team? And then the second one is the value going to be any higher if you hold on to Shen if you are looking to trade him? I just don't see that being the case. You have a first rounder and a former second rounder, and there's pros and cons to every situation. The cons in here is you break up the cohesion, the chemistry, the identity of the team, but the pros, you are looking into rebuilding mode. You have some flexibility. You're maximizing his value. Sometimes you just have to break up good teams in order to build a great one.
Back in the day, you could go out and you could trade for a leader at the deadline every year. Blues would trade for Harold Sneps or Garth Butcher or Glenn Anderson. They would go get a guy. You can't trade for a leader at the deadline anymore. They just don't exist in the National Hockey League. Why does Toronto want Braden Shen? They want a top 9 center with leadership ability that's been through the wars. If you're the Blues and you get rid of Braden Shen, who are young players looking to in that room? Who is Jake Neighbors looking to? Who is Robert Thomas looking to? When they come up, who are Snuggerud and Dvorsky looking to show them how to be a real pro? Does that guy exist in the Blues dressing room right now? I don't think he does.
Well, to me, if you get rid of Braden Shen, is that any worse than the current state that you're already in? Probably.
Absolutely.
Probably, because you take a step back there. But if you're looking toward the future, you can find those next guys, but you will have to take a year or two off of being competitive, like really good and structured.
And that's what the Blackhawks said. Yeah, we'll take a year or two off, and now it's a decade. So you got to be very careful when you do that stuff. Hey, later in the show, you can help us build a parlay. Find a single bet you like on DraftKings and send it to us. Andrew's going to make a bet. I'm going to make a bet. I've got a great one for you today that you're just absolutely going to love. And then you make a bet. So all you need to do is find a bet on DraftKings, any bet. Text it into us, 314-624-0414, and we will have that build a parlay for you later on in the show. One other note last night that came in late, the Vikings will not use the franchise tag on their quarterback Sam Darnold, although they are trying to work out a deal to keep him. They have last year's first rounder, J.J. McCarthy, who tore up his knee. They don't know how healthy McCarthy's going to be at the start of camp. If Darnold becomes a free agent, though, Andrew, what do you think the best fit is? You got the Raiders looking for a quarterback. You got the Giants. You've got the Jets. Who do you think is the best fit?
I think you just went 1-2 with the first two names. The first one is the Raiders. He'd be a perfect fit in Las Vegas just for what he did last season. And sometimes you just have to be in a good situation in order to be a good quarterback. Pair him up with Pete Carroll or send him to New York and be a Giant, not a Jet. Be a Giant and put him next to a guy like Malik Neighbors and just go round 2 like you did with J.J. Jefferson.
And maybe Brian Daboll could get the most out of him. I look at Vegas, though. I think Chip Kelly has grown as an offensive coordinator. He did so, it looked like, for Ohio State last year. And I believe that Chip Kelly has the button-pushing ability to get the most out of a guy like Sam Darnold. I'm with you. I think Vegas would be the best spot. I would have to believe that Tom Brady is going to be recruiting him. They have tons of cap space available in Vegas. They need a running back, and they need to build the offensive line, but they have the second most cap space in the league. I'm with you. I think Vegas would be the best one.
And it doesn't shock me that Minnesota wants to see kind of how Darnold's market plays out because they wanted JJ to be the guy last year. It wasn't like Darnold came in to be the guy before him. It was a competition, and Darnold was just blessed with a good scenario. JJ gets hurt, Darnold's in, and then he revitalized his career. But they want JJ.
He vitalized it.
Oh, vitalized.
He didn't have to
You're right.
There was nothing to revitalize.
There was nothing to revitalize. That's a great point.
Yeah. Coming up, did Mrs. Luther Burden just make a big jump in the draft board? And are you ready to get mad at MLB again next year? That's next on Quick Hits on The Fight. Let's start quick hits with college basketball. The SEC continued its dominance. 3 of the top 5 and 8 of the total in the top 25 this week. Mizzou dropped from 14 to 15 after their loss at Vandy. The Tigers are projected to take on Tennessee in the quarterfinals in the SEC tournament, assuming they advance out of the round of 2. And the best case scenario, well, the fact that they get, in my opinion, Tennessee in a nominally a neutral site. At least it's not on Tennessee's home floor. Yes, right. It's in Nashville. It's in Tennessee. But Mizzou, I think, has a much better chance, Andrew, on a neutral court to beat a team like Tennessee. And they only lost to them by 4 at Knoxville. I think that Mizzou has a chance to beat them if that's the collision that winds up occurring.
Mizzou doesn't want to play Auburn in any scenario. Avoid them until the championship game if you can. Florida is also another team that's been spotty this year, very streaky, but they're a team, too, that I think beat Tennessee at one point by 20 this season. And though Mizzou got a win there, too, I just don't trust round 2 against Florida. And Alabama, they just play so fast. Mizzou won that game because they were just hot. They were red hot. So, yes, I agree with you. Tennessee just seems, in terms of best fit for a round or a quarterfinal game, it's got to be the team from Knoxville.
And I do believe that regardless of what happens in the SEC tournament, Mizzou is probably locked in as a 5 or a 6 seed. Unless they win the SEC tournament, probably locked in as a 5 or a 6 in the NCAA tournament.
In Tennessee, that was a game where Mizzou blew a second-half lead. Yeah. They were leading at halftime. So give the Tigers a chance to do it again and run it back.
NFL, the 49ers on Saturday traded wide receiver Deebo Samuel to the Commanders. Could Luther Burden III of Mizzou replace Deebo in San Francisco? Is number 11 too early for Burton, who ran a 4.41 and looked great at the Combine?
I wish we had more of his Combine result numbers to really compare Deebo and Burton, but if you take just the first 2 events that Burton has completed, it's eerily similar to Deebo Samuel, and they just mirror one another in the style of game that they play. This is a situation, though, where San Francisco, it seems a little too early to take Luther Burden just based on how everybody has structured the wide receivers in this draft.
And they need in San Francisco, number 1, they took a receiver last year with their first pick, Ricky Pearsall, and they're going to need some help on the offensive line. They've got a lot of cap issues. Meanwhile, on NFL.com's all-combine team, Burden was one of the wide receivers, Armand Membo was one of the tackles, and Brady Cook was the all-combine quarterback, according to NFL.com. Brady Cook was the all-combine quarterback.
That is something to take notice of. He may not be a guy that's just going to step in and start right away, but he is the type of player that probably could have a great career like Chase Daniel. Like just a guy that's just a good backup. When he gets into the game, he can be successful. Brady Cook showing out, balling out a bit.
And such a great guy. I would think that will be a part. I have to believe everybody that met with him loves him. So I'm happy for Brady Cook, and hopefully he does get drafted. He was thought of as undrafted at the beginning of the Combine. Now people think that he's going to get drafted. Baseball. Commissioner Rob Manfred is considering a petition filed on January 8th by Pete Rose's family to have Major League Baseball's all-time hit king posthumously removed from baseball's ineligible list. In December of 2015, Manfred rejected Rose's personal reinstatement petition. I'll be interested to see what happens with this, because Bud Selig and before him Bart Giamatti and now Rob Manfred have been staunchly against allowing Pete Rose's ban to be lifted.
Because if you allow this, you have to allow other things. You have to loosen your grip on the guys that took steroids, Randy, or the ones that are accused of taking steroids. Because there are so many out there that whether McGuire came out and admitted it or not, it wasn't like he was on some type of report before that. There are other guys that have gone on reports, Bonds, Sheffield, Clemens, guys like that. But if you allow Pete Rose to go in too, those guys need to go in as well. But frankly, they should just be in already.
Well, but we have a difference here, because Rose being banned from baseball has never been allowed on the ballot. The writers have had their say with Bonds and Clemens and McGuire. They've never had an opportunity to have a say with Pete Rose. And I wonder if that might have changed now in the years since 1989, since Rose was banned. If he shows up on the ballot today with legalized gambling in most states in America, not Missouri, but if he shows up on the ballot today, I wonder if the writers might be a little bit more lenient and give him that 75% necessary to be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, if they held off on the guys that took steroids, I can't imagine they'd suffer the integrity of the game with Pete Rose to allow him into.
And I can tell you this, the guys that are in the Hall of Fame, they don't want Pete Rose in there. Speaking of baseball, Tony Clark, the executive director of the MLB Players Association, expects the league to implement a lockout after the 26 campaign. He said, quote, "Unless I'm mistaken, the league has come out and said there's going to be a work stoppage. So I don't think I'm speaking out of school in that regard. The current collective bargaining agreement is set to expire on December 1st of 2026. Now, last month, Commissioner Rob Manfred had said, quote, "In a bizarre way, it's actually a positive. The great thing about off-season lockouts is the leverage that exists gets applied between the bargaining parties." I'm deathly afraid of what might happen here, especially if the owners ask for a salary cap. This could wind up in MLB missing games and really ruining their sport.
Can you imagine putting the word positive and lockout in the same sentence there, Randy? I mean, that's just laughable to begin with. But it's the things that they're talking about that could push for that lockout. MLB talking about a hard salary cap or trying to work out their TV deals. Here's the problem with the hard salary cap, and as much as I want that too, you're already paying players $750 million. It's not like Juan Soto is going to say, like, yeah, I'm going to adjust everything to abide by what you guys want to do now. No, you lost control of that a long time ago, and you can't go back to it. At least we can lay our heads on these things kind of work themselves out.
And realistically, Scott Boras runs the baseball union. Now, with this disappearance from ESPN, with competition from soccer in the summer, football starting earlier and earlier, hockey and basketball going later and later, I really think baseball would go by the wayside if they would have any extended work stoppage in 2027. I think they really need to be careful about that. I hope they don't have an ego that says, oh, people will come back. I don't think they will. A local story. How about this? An 11-year-old Kirkwood basketball team was down 24-22 with seconds remaining. Now, you got to see this. Fifth grader Noah Gribb hurled the ball from half court and won it with a buzzer beater. Wow. Imagine any player in any moment.
Look at the lady in the pink rushing the floor.
Oh, that's so great.
Hey, you can't court storm anymore.
Yeah.
Get off the floor.
Yeah. So, and the question last night for me from Andrew was, who could have borrowed Noah Gribb's clutch shooting skills? Well, according to ESPN's Get Up, LeBron James has shot 1 for 29 on go-ahead or game-tying field goal attempts within the final 5 seconds of the fourth quarter and overtime since joining the Lakers in 2018. So LeBron could use some of Noah Gribb's skills with a Z, S-K-I-L-L-Z.
How about that? For me, Randy, let's go to college basketball for a moment. Do you remember when Butler and Duke were playing each other in the NCAA championship game and Gordon Hayward gets the rebound off of a missed free throw and that banked half-quarter falling out of bounds just missed.
Yeah.
Was it long? Was it short? Who cares? It barely missed. Gordon Hayward could have used a little bit of that clutch shooting.
And congratulations to Noah Gribb and Noah's team. That's pretty cool. And that is a lifetime memory. Even if he winds up hitting a buzzer beater in the NCAA tournament, he's still going to remember that 12-year-old shot.
That's just a great athlete name too, Noah Gribb.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that just tells me I just need to see you on the back of a jersey playing for Mizzou, playing for SLU someday.
And how lucky are we that we are in a place and time where we get to have phone cameras and videos so that we can see all of this stuff. 25 years ago, we weren't seeing all of this stuff. Pretty cool.
Yeah, well, we both hit like 17 of those shots in our career.
Yeah. Hey, coming up here on The Fight, we have our Tuesday visit with Katie Woo, the Cardinal beat writer for The Athletic. Katie is next on Matrix Midwest. All right, time for our weekly visit with our friend Katie Woo from The Athletic, from the Cards Territory podcast with former Cardinal closer Trevor Rosenthal and our teammate here at First Alert 4. Good morning, Katie. How you doing?
Gentlemen, good morning. I'm well, clearly not in Jupiter, but I will be back this weekend. Things are starting to pick up, though. We're in the second half of spring training, and that's usually, Randy, when you see kind of the roster plans start to take place.
And Katie, only because we've seen the offense struggle so much last year, how much concern for you is there that this offensive group has had such a tough first week?
I think the concern is minimal. I mean, remember last spring training, the Cardinals went, I think, maybe 3 weeks without a home run as a team. So they're already doing better than last year. But look, I understand the offense was a huge storyline last year, but we are 1 week-ish into spring training games with a new hitting coach, a new approach. It takes time to implement all of these things, especially with young players like Nolan Gorman, Jordan Walker. Yes, I fully understand the pressure around them, how big of a factor they're going to be in this season. But Grapefruit League is long for a reason. We just got to give these guys more time. If this offense looks like this at the end of April, different conversation that we'll have. But right now, my concern is slim to none.
Katie, we spoke about this morning. Pujols set to manage at the World Baseball Classic, but more importantly, wants to be a manager as early as next year. How much do you think this storyline plays in the background of the 2025 season?
Well, I certainly think it plays in the foreground of Cardinals fans and what they want. But really, I think it's just far too soon to really make any definitive decisions on the managerial job. Let's remember, Ollie Marmol is under contract not through 2025, but through 2026. Now, yes, let's address the elephant in the room. When you have a new front office coming in, you know, it always kind of puts a little bit of extra pressure on the manager. So I think you can kind of go in and say maybe this is Ollie's last year, but I think that's a little unfair to everyone involved because we don't know what Chaim Bloom wants, and we probably won't know that until he takes over for John Mozeliak in October. So to me, this is a storyline that's interesting for the fans because why wouldn't you want to follow along Albert Pujols' career? On the flip side, guys, Yadier Molina is going to manage Team Puerto Rico in the World Baseball Classic, and he wants to manage as well too. So when you have names with such history for the St. Louis Cardinals, like Albert Pujols, like Yadier Molina, fans are always excited. They're always going to maybe try to fantasize or hypothesize what that situation is going to look like. I'm here to be the party pooper and tell you now it's a little too early for those kinds of conversations.
And Katie, in this spring, Ollie Marmol said on Sunday when they sent out Quinn Matthews, he said he thought he was, quote, phenomenal. Now, he pitched 4 years at Stanford, and I know you're a Pac-12 Arizona State person. You don't think that's a big deal. He's 24. Do you think we see Matthews sooner rather than later? And do you downgrade him because he's a Stanford Cardinal?
No, I actually grew up in the Bay Area, so my
right.
first love was the Stanford Cardinals. So I actually feel a little bit more inclined to him. Now, I will say, yes, I do think that we see Quinn Matthews sooner than later, but I want to put an asterisk on this. In years prior, the Cardinals, take any number of their top pitching prospects, felt the need almost to rush up players to win games that day because they needed to. And that's why you saw, take your pick, Matthew Liberatore, Andre Palante, Zach Thompson, go down the list, start in the bullpen, or maybe bounce around between the rotation and relief, just because the Cardinals are trying to win that day. This year, if there's a silver lining to this year, they don't face the pressure to do that. They can take their time with their pitching prospects. And one player they are certainly going to do that with is Quinn Matthews, because you think about the high ceiling and potential that he brings. We can also go back to what Chaim Bloom did in Tampa. A lot of the times, the Rays pitching prospects maybe had proven themselves a little too much in AAA, where the organization would be like, hey, we're going to keep them down for at least a couple more starts, where every other indication looked like they were ready. That is by design. It's better to hold on a little longer to a pitching prospect in the minors than let him go a little too early. So do I think we'll see Quinn Matthews at some point in 2025? Yes. Do I understand the organization's hesitance not to rush him up and really make sure that he is ready to go in a position to succeed, something they haven't really done for many of their arms? I also agree with that. So I think he'll be worth the wait, but I think we do have to be a little bit more patient for Quinn.
Katie, you do the podcast with Trevor Rosenthal, so I'm sure you've gotten some insight on this, and you wrote a great piece on The Athletic about this last week. Why do you think the Cardinals are hesitant to commit to Helsley long term?
Well, thank you. And I think that goes back to what we were talking about with Chaim Bloom, with the manager situation, with prospects. The Cardinals are designed this way on purpose, right? At the end of the 2025 season, all of their major contracts that are not attached to a full no trade clause are coming off the books. You're talking Eric Fetty, Steven Matz, Miles Michaelis, and of course, Ryan Helsley. Again, that is by design. The Cardinals want Chaim Bloom to have a say over what his roster is going to look like in 2026, and that should be how it is. It's already a little awkward enough that they have this transition plan that seemingly rarely happens in professional sports, but I don't think the Cardinals ownership ownership or John Mozeliak wants to extend any player because it's unsure what Chaim Bloom thinks or wants to do with his club, and it will be his club starting in 2026. So this is something Helsley alluded to as well. He would love to stay. He's been in the Cardinals organization for a decade, grew up a Cardinals fan, thought he was going to get traded, is so relieved he wasn't. But when I asked him, he did say, I'm pretty sure the front office and the changes that are looming have impacted why there have been no extension conversations for me.
Katie, a lot of people are down on Miles Michaelis because of his performance last year. What do you think he brings to the table for this team off the field as much as on?
Yeah, Randy, 2 years of decline, especially in a way that Miles pitched over the last 2 years. I mean, he'd be the first to tell you it was not good. You earned some of that criticism from fans, right? I totally understand where they're coming from, but the reason, minus the full no trade clause and the contract, let's acknowledge those two. The reason the Cardinals have some confidence in Michaelis is because of his proven durability, right? This is a guy for the past 3 seasons, he's made over 30 starts. You look at the state of starting pitching in baseball, that just doesn't happen. When you are a team that is probably going to be relying on a lot of young pitchers come the second half of the season, you don't want to put any extra stress on these young arms. So Miles Michaelis, is a guy that can take the ball every 5 days, notch 6 innings. He's going to make every start, and he's going to allow some of these young guys some breathing room. That's, I think, why the Cardinals are leaning towards a veteran rotation to start the year, because they don't want to put any added stress on their arms. Miles Michaelis is the longest tenured big leaguer for the St. Louis Cardinals right now. He certainly understands the ups and downs of this organization. He's done a lot to reinvent his career. I think the Cardinals' young players could benefit by someone who has gone through so much adversity, but the real value that he's bringing is his ability to make his start every 5 days and eat innings. I know that's a phrase that we grew tired of last year, but it was a strategy that did work for the pitching staff in 2024.
And I know that they hope that a guy like McGreevy, a guy like Palante will watch that, say, hey, that's pretty cool that guy made 30 starts and he's throwing close to 200 innings. I think that they want to have Michaelis's durable influence on their young pitchers too.
That's a great point, Randy. I mean, you think about where these Cardinals pitchers are at, especially the state of starting pitching right now. You could be a 5 and dive kind of guy. The Cardinals don't want that. They're very traditional in how they use their starting pitchers. So someone like Miles that can go out there, again, take the ball every fifth day is important.
Katie, give me a percentage. What do you think is the likelihood Siani starts in AAA to open the year with how Scott is currently playing?
Ooh, so this is controversial. I will never say 0 to anything, especially with this organization, because you just never know. But I will give that a 1% chance.
Wow.
And the reason is because the Cardinals coaching staff and the organization really likes Michael Siani. And you look at his skill set defensively, he is a 4th outfielder on a playoff caliber team, and he would thrive in that role. He's also, in my opinion, one of the best defensive center fielders in baseball last year. I think that month that he missed with his oblique strain really hurt his chances of a Gold Glove finalist berth. Now, this is no means any knock on Scott. I actually think Michael Siani and Victor Scott are very complimentary of each other. They're almost the exact same player when you think about the defensive first specialist in center field, left-handed bat. The trick for the Cardinals, and this to me is the biggest question mark of camp, is what exactly do they want out of center field and who is going to take that? We've talked about maybe Lars Nootbaar getting in the mix. I can't see the Cardinals carrying 3 center fielders if they consider Nootbaar one, which in my opinion is not the best strategy, but that's a conversation for another time. Now, if Victor Scott makes the club, he's going to make it and play every day as he should. But when I talked to John Mozeliak of if his strategy of top prospects need to play every day, whether that's the majors or the minors, has changed, he said it didn't. He still believes that because the club is so high on Michael Siani because they want Victor Scott to continue developing in no matter where he's at. I can see them making a decision right now to put Scott in AAA. Now, Scott might make this decision really tough because of what he's doing. He's having a great spring. The bat looks great. Then we might be having a different conversation. But right now, I think Michael Siani makes this club.
Katie, we haven't touched on this much on our show, but it's been rare that a person in waiting has worked in sports. We had Mike Yeo with Ken Hitchcock with the Blues, and Hitchcock wound up getting fired at midseason. Will Muschamp was the next guy for Texas football, but he left before they got rid of Mac Brown. Same with Will Venable with the Rangers last year. He was going to be the guy that took over for Bruce Bochy, but he took the White Sox job instead. Jared Mayo for Bill Belichick was a disaster with the Patriots. So what concerns, if any, are there about Bloom being the Pobo in waiting?
Way to build the faith, Randy. Those were all totally great situations that worked out really well for the organization when having someone waiting in the wings. It's it's a weird situation, right? Let's not beat around the bush here. But I think the concern is, will Chaim Bloom have the ability to come in and do what he wants in 2026? Will he actually have an idea of what these players that the Cardinals currently roster, what they'll do for him in 2026? That was the whole design of this reset, right? In October, when the Cardinals came out and said the whole point of 2025 is to give runway to guys so we know what we have in 2026 and beyond, so that Chaim Bloom can make those decisions best for the future of the club. Look, I think part of what makes his spot so alluring here is that he was signed to a 5-year deal. So that's some good job security through 2026. Now it's about, will he have the opportunity in 2025? Will the Cardinals give it to him to really evaluate those players? You're talking players that we've talked all winter: Nolan Gorman, Jordan Walker, Lars Nootbaar, Andre Palante. You go down the list, Michael McGreevy. Will they have the extended runway that the Cardinals talked about all offseason long, so that he can make an educated decision going forward? That's, I think, the biggest concern, if any, about Chaim Bloom waiting in the wings.
And one of the cool things about us being observers here in St. Louis is that the Blues are doing the exact same thing with Doug Armstrong and Alexander Steen. So we'll be able to compare the franchise notes and see how each side is doing.
Yes, and the Blues seem to be in a really good spot right now, Randy, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
Katie, one last thing before, or at least from me, and I want to have some fun before we let you go. Have you had any more run-ins with sprinklers since coming home to St. Louis?
Can we talk about that focus right there? Can we talk about that focus? Because I don't know if you can tell from my face, but I am mad. You can probably tell. No sprinklers, which would be a problem because I'm in my apartment right now. So if the sprinklers went off, that would not be a good sign. And I'd be even more mad than I am in that frame.
Okay, Katie, one more thing. And I know people do this with your last name, but a few years ago, as is bound to happen sometimes here in St. Louis, they love the Nature Boy. So if there's a game where the Cardinals are way behind and there's 10 people in the stands, inevitably all 10 are doing the Nature Boy woo. And I want you to tell the viewers of the fight how you responded on Twitter a couple of years ago when you started hearing that. It might have been your second year covering the team, first year with fans in the stands.
I don't know if I remember, but I'm a little scared because I was a little out of control my first year. So I'm a little hesitant to, I hope it was something nice. Probably not.
It was like the worst thing that could ever happen to you, I think.
Oh,
it was a nightmare.
That sounds like me.
Yeah.
That sounds like something I would say. I would agree. I'm used to it now. We've grown. Now I think the worst thing that can happen is one of those 2.5 rain delays, which we're bound to get at least 3 times in St. Louis this year.
Definitely.
You won't have that when you return to Jupiter. You're headed back on Sunday, and next Tuesday we will speak to you from beautiful Jupiter, Florida. Have fun the rest of the spring.
You got it, guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Katie. That's Katie Wu from The Athletic. She does a fantastic job covering the Cardinals. And we are counting down the days until March Madness here on The Fight as well. And Matrix Midwest has the road to the big dance running right through St. Louis with Arch Madness. And we're giving you a chance to catch all the madness. All you need to do is go to matrixmidwest.com/Arch Madness. And you can sign up for your chance to win 4 all-session tickets to the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament right here in St. Louis. You have until tomorrow to put your name into the hat, so get to matrixmidwest.com/Arch Madness and win some tickets, courtesy of Matrix Midwest and The Fight. Coming up, we need your help to make a parlay, and we'll each make make a bet. You can text in to help us out with a single bet on DraftKings for a game tonight. Text in now, 314-624-0414. We need your text in The Fight. All right, time to build a parlay, and I'm going to start with this on DraftKings. I was on it this morning. I said, I got to come up with a bet. And as you might know, I'm not a fan of Arsenal because of their owner. I apologize to all you Arsenal fans out there. But I'm going across the pond. PSV Eindhoven is plus 290 to win in regulation. But this one is a plus 250 bet to go for. I'm going to pretend they're like St. Louis City SC. I'm going to go for the draw. Right now they're at plus 240, and I'm going to go for PSV Eindhoven to come to a draw on the pitch in the kits with Arsenal.
You know, it's funny. I would love to know the stat of how many games end up in draws, or how many matches, I should say,
50%
end up in draws.
At
so this is a good bet, right? When you see a number like this,
yeah,
you're rooting for a tie. Who doesn't want to root for a tie sometimes?
I'm rooting for a 0-0 tie on the pitch.
All right, Randy, I'm going to go over to the ice. And there is a situation that the Blues are in right now where they trail both Calgary and Vancouver. But Calgary plays tonight. and they play the Flyers on the road. Give me the Flyers because we need to see a drop by the Flames in the standings to help our St. Louis Blues out. So we are big Philadelphia Flyers fans tonight.
Let's do it. Plus 140, minus 142.
Minus 142.
Go Flyers.
It's a big favorite, but you know what? Sometimes we need to have a favorite on this show. And then the last one, Tim, the texter.
Yep.
He likes SLU tonight. SLU against Dayton. SLU on the road.
6.5-point dog.
And
on the road.
That is considered the favorite here on DraftKings at minus 112. You know, Dayton got an 8-point winner on the road at SLU. Why can't SLU at least lose
Return
by
the favor.
6 or win this game? And SLU's playing some of the best basketball right now heading into the A10 tournament.
So let's do it. All right.
Plus 996, which means $996. You'll see the 100 in there too to make it over 1,000. That's a pretty nice payday.
Yeah, we would have loved to have had the payday yesterday. How about last night?
Oh, man.
Yeah, we aren't very good at betting. So Alex Ovechkin did not have a goal. And I had him to have 2. Houston didn't cover, and the Houston KU over missed from our listeners. So
By a
not
lot.
great.
At least we all missed, right? It would be terrible if we went 2 out of 3.
Yeah. So that's Build a Parlay. Don't forget, we need you to help build the parlay every day. Just hop on DraftKings on your phone and then send us a text, and we'd love to hear from you so that we can have a parlay with 3 of us. 314-624-0414. Coming up, we've got Take It or Leave It, plus birthdays and anniversaries on The Fight. All right, it's time for Take It or Leave It, and I'm going to get things started here. The St. Louis PD announced yesterday that there were 10 arrests at Saturday's Mardi Gras parade downtown. 7 of those were for underage drinking, 1 each for disturbing the peace, like there was any peace to disturb, 3rd-degree assault, and 4th-degree assault on law enforcement. Take it or leave it. You are stunned. Stunned that there wasn't a single arrest at the Mardi Gras parade where ladies earn beads and men relieve themselves on the sides of buildings for indecent exposure.
This is, wow. Wow. Taking it. I'm taking it.
So you're stunned that there wasn't one indecent exposure.
Not one. 100% I'm
indecent
taking
exposure.
it because of everything that you just read off in terms of like a quote-unquote arrest record, which, by the way, what is 4th-degree assault on an officer?
And the officer said, I'm fine. He didn't go to the hospital. I don't know what it was.
4th degree.
Yeah, maybe he got slapped or something. I
Yeah,
don't know.
is that the weakest of the degrees? 4th degree?
Yeah, I would think, yeah.
Yeah, but no, I'm taking this for sure because that's kind of crazy to me. Do all things just go down at Mardi
That being
Gras?
said, I'm proud of it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's a win. It's a huge win.
Yeah.
All right, mine for you, Randy, is this.
Okay, good.
The Washington Nationals. They're going to have a new stadium name and also a new jersey sponsor. Take it or leave it, Walgreens needs to step up.
Oh, 100% take. Okay, look at this. You got this. This is the Nationals. This is Walgreens. Absolutely, you take that. I mean,
Those mirror one another.
yeah, I mean, Walgreens has to. Now, I know they're closing stores and they've got some financial issues, but Walgreens, you want to come back, support the Nationals.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave it and say,
Oh, no.
and say CVS should step up right now and take this over.
Oh.
That would be perfect for this moment.
All right, we've got a great one for you from our director, Tyler. Gordon Graceffo struck out 4 hitters with this nasty 12-6 curve. It had Andrew and Tyler thinking about Adam Wainwright. So take it or leave it, Gordon Graceffo is the next Adam Wainwright.
Oh, man, this one.
Watch it. Watch the side-by-side here. Watch this
tough.
12-6.
Because they look a lot alike. I mean, the curveball dip is nearly identical.
Yep.
I'm going to leave it right now only because Adam Wainwright's just elite. He's an elite Hall of Famer, and I just don't know if Graceffo is that. Is he a 2-3 for this team? Probably, but getting to Adam Wainwright caliber is hard.
I'm going to be a positive Pat here. Gordon Graceffo is going to win 200 games. He's going to strike out 2,000 hitters. He's going to pitch for a world champion. He might even close out a
Let's
World
go.
Series.
Hype me up.
Yeah, Gordon Graceffo is going to rock and roll. He's going to do both of them.
Fun fact, when they were both 24 years old, because that's what Graceffo is right now, their velo numbers are exactly the same.
There you go.
The curveball numbers are near the same, except Graceffo just has a little more speed on that, and then they also have the changeup.
And
But they have the same
And
arsenal.
I'll bet Graceffo has Waino's number, and Waino would be more than willing to help him out. All right, time now for birthdays. And former Cardinal first-round pick, pitcher Brian Barber. We don't have video, but he was a first-rounder, and so we'll give him credit for that. 52 years old today. It doesn't seem like that long ago that Brian Barber was a Cardinal first-round pick. 1990s catcher for the Cardinals, Tom Lampkin is 61. He was here in the year that Mark McGwire hit the 70 home runs. Really a nice guy. Tom Lampkin, happy birthday, 61 years old. Former Steeler, Chris Fuamatu Ma'afala.
What a
Fun name to say. Chris Fuamatu Ma'afala, teammate of our town's Kerry Davis, is 48 years old.
Is the name on the back of the jersey there, Randy?
It was with the Steelers. I don't see it there, though. Fuamatu Ma'afala.
I wouldn't want to put that or stitch that on.
Happy birthday to CFM. Yeah, I think that's the way to do it. Former safety Doug Plank, number 46 for the Bears, for whom the 46 defense was named. Born on this date in 1953, people thought that the 46 was an alignment, which would have not made much sense because you have 11 players. But he was a great player, and Buddy Ryan named the defense because he, Doug Plank, was the key for the defense.
What a beautiful head of hair that he has on him as well. It reminds me of Sunshine and Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
Maybe Plank was Sunshine before Sunshine was Sunshine.
Yeah. The Rams had a safety who's now the special teams coach in Dallas. He was the defensive coordinator for the Niners last year, Nick Sorensen. And his nickname was Sunshine because of a fabulous head of hair. Yeah, Doug Plank was a really good player. A couple of anniversaries. Happy anniversary. In 1927, Babe Ruth became the highest paid player in MLB history when he signed a 3-year deal for $70,000 a year. With his next contract, Ruth signed for $80,000 for the year, and when he was asked if he thought he deserved to be making more money than President Hoover, he said, "Why not? I had a better year than he did."
That's just a classic line. I'll tell you this, too. Maybe there wouldn't be lockouts anymore if they would have had a hard cap around this timeline.
Yeah, $70,000. Babe Ruth sold to the Yankees so that the owner of the Red Sox could actually finance a musical. Yeah.
I had a better year.
I had a better year than the president. This date, 1962, Wilt Chamberlain of the Philadelphia Warriors, in the game after his 100-point game, registers his 5th straight 50-point game. He had 58 against the New York Knicks and set a season scoring record with 3,921 points. Think about that. 5 straight 50-point games.
I can't, because I don't think I ever will see that.
No.
Ever.
He was dominant. He was unbelievable. And in 2017, St. Louis and Nefisha Collier from Incarnate Word scores 24 points, and top-ranked UConn routs Tulsa 105-57 in the American Athletic Conference quarterfinals. That dominant team that Nefisha played on at UConn, man, they were good, and she was a key to it.
They won. Ariana?
Yep. Okay, yeah, here's what we got going on today. Cards and Nationals on FanDuel Midwest. That will be played at noon. Then tonight you got the Billikens taking on Dayton. That one's at 6 o'clock. The Flames and Flyers, the game that Andrew has a bet on. That's a big one for the Blues. That's on ESPN+. Then you got the Warriors and Knicks on TNT at 6:30. That'll be fun. And then at 8 o'clock, number 1 Auburn, number 22 A&M, also on ESPN. Then at 10 o'clock, this is huge, Tyler's Arizona State Sun Devils take on, there we go, against number 24 Arizona. Boo, boo, you Wildcats.
Randy's booing a St. Louisan and Caleb Love.
I'm booing Arizona on behalf of our director, Tyler, who is an Arizona State alum. By the way, they had a little skirmish at the last time these two teams played, so that'll be fun to watch the end of. We get up early, so we can't see the end of it. Hey, thanks for tuning in. For Andrew and our outstanding director, Tyler Klaus, I'm Randy Karraker. Avoid the rain today, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a terrific Tuesday, St. Louis.